Podcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning. I'm going to let everybody get situated. We've got a few more people coming in, and I'm sure people will continue to straggle in throughout the course of the morning. The course of the morning, I made it out like this is going to be a 4-hour webinar. This is not going to be a 4-hour webinar, but we are here today. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can, get all of the panelists that we have here this morning, in a large format. You can see all of us at the same time. My name is Sandy Dubé-Spinagle, and for those of you who have joined us previously for some of these webinars, welcome back. For those of you who don't know, I own Platinum PR. It's a public relations and marketing firm, and I get to work with the team at Charles County Economic Development Department and the Charles County Chamber of Commerce. So the Charles County Chamber and Economic Development have co-sponsored this webinar series during the pandemic, and we did a set of them back in the May-June time period. If you didn't check those out, make sure you visit the Charles County Economic Development website for those replays. This will also be posted on the Charles County Economic Development website, so you can check out that replay if you if you can't write the notes frantically enough, you'll be able to watch the replay. We'll also have some resource links for you on that website that will provide links to and contact information for all of our panelists today. But again, just a shout out to the Charles County Chamber of Commerce and Charles County Economic Development Department for bringing us all here today. Our topic is show me the money. So we're going to figure out how we can help you as small business owners, or those of you running nonprofits, or those of you in government trying to help others, how you can access some great resources. I've got a couple of poll questions before I kick off our panelists sections that I'd love to find out a little bit about, about you all, about our attendees. So I'm going to pop up our first poll question to figure out what type of organization you're representing today. So if you are a small business, a nonprofit, or government, if you are in a different category, then, just bear with me here. So, okay, we've got a lot of nonprofits. Let's see. Cool. A lot of small businesses, more small businesses. Okay, good. Yeah, small businesses are coming in strong. Okay, great. We've got about 75% of the people have completed it. So I'm going to close that and share those quick results with you. So 61% of you are representing small businesses, 35 representing nonprofits, which is amazing. And then a small group are representing government. Cool. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Next, in the interactive portion of our program today, I want to find out where you're located. So obviously this is sponsored by entities in Charles County, but representing the region, obviously sure that there are lots of you from the region. So just want to see where you are. If you could complete that, would love to see. Wow. Okay, good. Okay, so I know this is so unfair. Like, I get to see the numbers as they trickle in, but don't worry, I'll show them to you too. Okay, we've got 87 people, 87% more of you decided that it was easier to vote on where you were from than what type of organization you were representing today. 92% of you are from Charles County, which is awesome, and then 8% of you are from elsewhere in Maryland. Okay, cool. Thank you. As we get in and talk about, we've got a couple of PPP related poll questions, and we will queue those up in a little bit. But first, I'm going to introduce So we've got this great panel, and you can read everybody's names. They're the beauty of GoToWebinars that you can see all their names. It's like everybody's wearing a name tag all day today. I love it. But we're going to start with Lucretia Freeman Buster with Charles County Economic Development Department, and Lucretia is going to share her screen. So I need to do a little technical things here, and she's going to go through some of the Charles County Economic Development Department programs that we have for our small businesses.
I'm trying to share that screen right now.
You can see it, yep. And so just enlarge that PowerPoint. Nope, just click on the PowerPoint, like show PowerPoint thing down on the bottom. I don't know what's that called. Run the show.
Okay.
There you go. Perfect.
Okay. All right. Great. I'm going to briefly talk about our grant with the Charles County government. This is the grant through the CARES Act. And we are working with businesses that are physically in Charles County that have their location in the county. And the eligibility is pretty much being a Charles County-based business, having your primary office within the county, being a for-profit business. You have to be in business for at least a year. So as of May 2019, and you have to also demonstrate just as hardship how your business have been impacted due to COVID-19. Our grant is $5,000 to $10,000, and employees, if you have employees up to 4, you could be qualified for $5,000. We have businesses that are just one independent contractor, sole proprietor. You don't have to be an LLC to participate in this grant. And if you have employees, more than 5 employees, up to 75 employees, you could be qualified for up to $10,000. And your revenue should be less than $5 million. The application process, you go online onto our website, meetcharlescounty.com, and under our COVID-19 tab, you click on that tab, and there's a link that you will click to request an application. And once you request that application, we will send you the application along with a W-9 form and a 4506T form that you will complete, and also a link to upload your documents and your financial statement to review for the grant. And listed before you are some of the expenditures that you can use the funds for. And those things must have occurred between March 1st, 2020 to December 31st, December 30th, 2020. And you can cover use of a cash operational expense, payroll, inventory, your business lease and rent, purchasing PPE and all of that. So that's what the funds are used for. As I told you, this is the website. If you go to meetcharlescounty.com and click on, you see the COVID-19 update screen right there in red. Once you click on there, the first drop-down box would be the grant information that you will click on and then request your grant application. And we also have other grant. The first one I talked about was a grant, 100% grant, so there's no repayment. The second program we have is called our Small Business Relief Loan Fund. And this is a Charles County fund. This is a partially forgivable loan, and it goes up to $5,000. And the first year is deferred, so you don't have to make any principal or interest payment in the first year. After the first year, if you can pay half of that $5,000 within 6 months, the remaining half is then forgiven. And that $2,500 that you will pay will go to the Charles County Charitable Trust. We also have the Business Development Loan Fund. This is an existing fund that we do manage at the Economic Development, but we had set aside money within that fund to assist businesses that have been impacted by the COVID-19 crisis. For the Business Development Fund, you have to be a minority-owned, woman-owned business. Again, having a business within the county, you have to be in business for at least 2 years, and that is $10,000. You can qualify for up to $10,000, and the interest is deferred for, you make interest-only payment for 8 months, so your principal is deferred for 8 months. And then we have the Target Industry Loan Fund. These are for businesses within our target industry that can qualify for up to $10,000. And these are all loans. In our target industry, we include health, the healthcare industry, technology, research development, certain retail businesses also part, agriculture businesses. And I'm showing the website here again. You can go right onto the website and request application for that as well. And this is my contact information. If you have any questions or you need more information, you can email me, and I'll be glad to talk to you more and let you know the process and help you through the process of accessing either the grant, the partially forgivable loan, or one of our other loan products. Thank you.
That was perfect, Lucretia. Thank you very much. So let's see, I'm going to pull that back to me so we can stop sharing your screen for the moment. And next up, okay, so for those of you that were representing nonprofits, so you're going to want to pay attention. I understand, Lucretia was talking from the, talking about some small business exclusive loan programs. But now we've got Kwanzaa Sykes from the Charles County Health Department, who's going to be talking about some programs, availability of opportunities for you nonprofits. So nonprofits, wake up now. It's time to pay attention, right? Kwanzaa, tell us what you've got.
Okay, good morning, everyone. So I am the project manager for all things COVID. So we have our CARES Act Relief Fund for nonprofits. There is a great need for assistance from our county nonprofit organizations who can help us address health equity in response to the pandemic. So we are looking for a plan to submit your bids for activities that will help support the county Department of Health respond to COVID activity, and should strive to maximize and reach and be quite impactful. Essentially, any activity or outreach that will help keep our county residents safe. That's what we're looking for. So if you are a faith-based organization, that might mean more cleaning supplies or outreach to vulnerable populations. That wouldn't mean, for instance, helmets for safety helmets. It's truly anything to keep our residents safe as a result of the pandemic. So that would also mean, so cleaning supplies I mentioned. If you need personal protective equipment, if you need PPE for your staff, that would be considered eligible. If you need hand sanitizers, if your staff is doing outreach and you need educational materials, advertising would be included. Culturally competent and appropriate messaging, certainly via videos and posters and billboards, certainly appropriate. And again, items to address social determinants of health, just impactful activities for our county residents. The announcement went out on August the 3rd. So we're a couple of days out. I've received a couple of applications and look forward to receiving more. The deadline for submission is August the 13th. August the 13th by 4:30 p.m. What you'll see on our website, which is www.charlescountyhealth.gov, you'll see 3 documents that'll be very helpful for you in this process. You will see the application, which is fillable. You will also see a bid process document that will be very helpful in answering any questions you have, and also an application instruction form, which essentially provides some question and answers for you as well. The grant amounts will be between $10,000 and $30,000 and will be solely based on the strength of your project. And we have approximately $2 million in which to spend for this for nonprofits. So we look forward to getting your applications. You can submit via email to my email address, which is kwanza.sykes, S-Y-K-E-S, @maryland.gov. And Sandy, I'm not sure if you're sharing the slide right now, but there's a slide to show you some of these most important details about submittal, where to go for the application, and any questions you might have, you should also send to my attention. We have a review panel who will review each of the applications as they are submitted. We'll dedicate some time to reviewing each and every one. There is a scoring metrics that is attached to the application, which will also be helpful for those of you who are interested in learning how your application will be graded. So that's available to you as well. All the information we've packaged together for your review. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, the website is actually .org, and I did put it in the chat. Yep, it's .org.
Thank you so much.
Yep. So, and I put it in the chat, so we'll fix that. I do have a slide. I do have some of those details that Kwanza suggested that she referenced, and we'll be putting all of those details with the correct link and things like that. But I did pop the chat in there, and thank you. We had somebody also questioning that. I was trying to pull it up at the same time, so we are good, and we'll make sure that everybody has your correct email contact. I'll put that in the chat as well for those of you who are here watching live, and then for the replay, it will be on the Meet Charles County Economic Development page along with this replay and those resources. So great opportunity. So to help me to kind of clarify and understand, if I've got an idea, you've obviously mentioned, it kind of anything safety related as it relates to COVID. Yeah. If I'm running a nonprofit and I've got something that I think I make my case and I explain, how much it's going to cost to acquire, to implement, and then submit that. Is that kind of the process?
Absolutely. There's a narrative, and you've got 3 to 4, so no more than 4 pages for your narrative. Put in that narrative everything that you think you're going to need to support your activity or your programs or services. Put them there. If there's anything that you may question, we're here to support you in that regard too. So if you have a question, we're answering them as they come. We want to help support your need and your interest for helping to keep us safe. So we want to do everything possible to help do that.
Okay, super. Thank you for that. So yes, a huge opportunity for some creativity in thinking about, how to implement that. Really appreciate it. Lucretia, I had a question for you. I just wanted to clarify while we're still here. The small business relief loans, actually the relief ones weren't a loan, that was a grant, correct?
No, the relief is the loan. The small business relief loan fund is a loan. It's a partially forgivable loan.
Okay, and is that available for businesses who have just opened or getting ready to open?
You have to be in business for 2 years.
2 years.
For that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. That was one of our questions. Cool. Okay. Thank you. Now we're going to shift to Clarence Campbell with Lendistry. Lendistry, did I get that right? Okay, cool.
You did.
Okay, cool. I usually have to read it, and I was going off memory. Oy, that is never a good thing. And here we're going to be talking about the Paycheck Protection Program. So, we were joking in prep for this. Oh my gosh, how many different acronyms could we use with the letter P in it during this process? I don't know. It's PPP, the Protective Protection Equipment, different from Paycheck Protection Program. So Clarence is going to be talking about that Paycheck Protection Program piece and other services and programs available to small businesses and nonprofits. So everybody has to be awake during this portion of the program, right? So take it away, Clarence. What have you got for us?
Great. Well, thank you, Sandy, and good morning, everyone. Let me just first thank you all for inviting us, Lendistry, to speak today. and just excited to share. Let me tell a little bit about Lendistry first. Lendistry is a minority-owned community development financial institution. And my role with Lendistry is I'm the Executive Vice President of Sales here in the Eastern region. But one of the things that's really important to know about Lendistry is that as a small business lender, our mission really is about providing business owners with education and access to capital. And our technology really makes us very unique. As a business lender, we are an SBA lender, working with the PPP, which we'll talk about in a moment. But we also partner with a number of different financial institutions to provide access to capital. And our technology allows us to be a national lender. So right now, I'm obviously based out of California. We are actually providing access to capital through the Paycheck Protection Program in 13 different states. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the Paycheck Protection Program if I can, and I do have a presentation that I'll just share a couple of points. Sandy, if you just want to.
I can do that. Did you want me to ask the poll question? Have you applied for, and if so, have you received?
That would be
okay.
That would be great.
Cool. We're going to launch that again. Trying to keep this interactive and
yes.
Okay, cool. Super helpful to understand the audience. Okay. Only 50% of you have opted to vote on the. Okay, I got a few more. I guilted somebody else into voting here today. Okay, it's still increasing here. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up. And then share those results. And yeah, so 55% haven't. And then I've got another one. If you did apply, did you receive it? If you want to put in the chat why you might not have applied, just curious, so we can kind of gauge some of this. Okay, and it looks like, yeah, 64% of you who did apply did receive the program, did receive the finding the resources. So, okay, let's see. Oh, somebody in the question said they did not apply for PPP. Company is too new, opened in February, and they are the only employee. So I know we have talked about that, and you might, and they asked, then somebody else asked, can you apply a second time for the Paycheck Protection Program? So I'll let you muddle with those while I give you permission to share your screen, and you can queue up your files there.
And are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So great questions, and we will certainly touch on each of those. And let me just say that for those who have not applied for the Paycheck Protection Program, there is still time. The Paycheck Protection Program is scheduled to end on August 8th, which is this Saturday. And we here at Lendistry will be taking applications up until the end of day, 11:59 p.m. on Thursday, August 6th. So there is still plenty of time to apply. What I'm sharing here is a help document that we provide right on our website at lendistry.com. So you will have access to this not only through the website, but this information will also be shared after the broadcast. But first, I'm just going to highlight, as you can see, it's 34 pages, and we're not going to go through all 34 pages. I just want to highlight a couple of key points on the Paycheck Protection Program, and both me and my team are available to answer any questions that anyone may have. First, I want to start off talking a little bit about the documentation that is required. And one of the reasons I want to share this first is because the documentation is typically what we found that keeps a lot of business owners from applying for the Paycheck Protection Program. And the documentation required varies by entity type, but there's some items that are very consistent. What's very universal for each business owner, whether you are a corporation, an LLC, a partnership, a sole proprietor, or a nonprofit, one of the things, a couple of things that are very consistent is that, one, we would require entity documents. So these would be your articles of incorporation or organization that show the formation of your business. If you're a sole prop, it would be your fictitious business agreement that shows how you've registered the business name if you have a trading as or doing business as. We also require any documents as it relates to the EIDL, the Economic Injury and Disaster Loan. So anything related that if you've been funded or received that, we would ask for documentation for that. And then there's a separate SBA Paycheck Protection Program application that we actually provide directly to you for you to complete as well. And a photo ID, a valid photo ID, could be a driver's license, a passport, but a valid photo ID. These 4 documents are very consistent regardless of your entity type. Where there could be some variation is how we actually verify the income. And I'll talk a little bit in a moment about how the loan amount is calculated for the Paycheck Protection Program. But for corporations, those individuals with wage earning employees, we would ask for your IRS Form 940, 941 as well to verify the wages that were paid, as well as a payroll summary, 12-month payroll summary for listing each of your employees. And if your organization would like to claim payroll costs, including health insurance and retirement benefits, we would need to verify that information as well. Where it would vary would actually be for the sole proprietors. So this is pretty consistent as you're dealing with the documentation I just spoke about for corporations, LLCs, partnerships. For a sole proprietor, what's different is the way we verify the income. And typically, if it is a sole proprietor without employees. So a sole proprietor with no employees, and this is a very important note to make, is that sole proprietors, as well as independent contractors, are eligible to apply for the Paycheck Protection Program. And that is a very common concern that we've heard, or question that we've heard from business owners, is that if they are a sole proprietor and they have no employees, that they're not eligible to apply for the Paycheck Protection Program. Organizations without employees are still eligible to apply. The way that we would verify your income would be looking at your Schedule C that sole proprietors file reporting their business income. And then we look at your net income to calculate your eligibility for the Paycheck Protection Program. So really want to clarify and eliminate that myth that sole proprietors without employees are not eligible. You are indeed eligible to apply, and many sole proprietors have received funding for the Paycheck Protection Program. There was also a question about nonprofits. Nonprofits are also eligible to apply for the Paycheck Protection Program. We would look at the normal entity documents that you file, be it rather if you're a corporation or an LLC, and we still would need to verify the wages that you've paid for or you've paid to your employees. And so we would gather the normal documentation there, but nonprofits are eligible to apply and have been funded as well for the Paycheck Protection Program. So I just wanted to clarify a couple of those key points right up front in terms of the documentation. Before applying, it really would be important to gather your documentation ahead of time before applying for the Paycheck Protection Program.
Clarence,
I also wanted to.
Clarence, can I
Sure.
interrupt you for one quick second? We've got
Sure.
a couple of questions regarding 501c6s specifically. Would they qualify?
The 501c6s would not.
Okay.
They would not qualify.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for that question.
Yeah. And then what about, somebody who has just opened? We had somebody that opened in February, so was presumably, let's say, open for 6 weeks before they had to close.
Yeah, really good question. So for organizations outside of a sole proprietor without employees, the deadline for operating is February 15th. So you could use your first quarter, your first 2 months of wages and payroll to qualify for the loan. So as long as you were in operation before February 15th, you would be eligible. The reason that I say for sole proprietors that it would be the end of December is that for sole proprietors without employees, the only income that we would look at or would be able to look at would be your Schedule C. So it would be your 2019 income to verify your eligibility.
Okay, so somebody else is asking if they're for somebody who has been open for less than a year. So again, if they were open for less than a year, we're going to tap into 2019, up through February 15th data. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
That is correct. Yep. Absolutely.
Perfect.
And the 12-month, and that's a really good distinction to make. The 12-month payroll summary, if you don't have a 12-month summary, you will provide the longest term that you have, up to 12 months, but the period ending February 15th. So you could provide a payroll summary, not just for 2019, it could be from February 2019 to February 2020.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Great questions. So a couple of key things to remember about the Paycheck Protection Program. One, we've talked a little bit about who's eligible to apply. Just remember that it's for small businesses with 500 or fewer employees that are able to apply. Again, I want to point out that sole proprietors as well as independent contractors are eligible to apply. And one thing that's really important to clarify is organizations who pay individuals as 1099 workers or contractors, you cannot use those individuals in your payroll calculation. And the reason that you can't use those individuals in your calculation is because independent contractors are eligible to apply on their own. But again, just to reiterate, those individuals, particularly sole proprietors, can still use their income that they report as the owner to apply for the Paycheck Protection Program as well. There's often a lot of questions around forgiveness. And one thing that's really important, or a couple things that's really important to note about forgiveness is really, one, the use of funds. So the Paycheck Protection Program was initially designed to provide support to retain employees. So one of the qualifications is that it must be used for payroll costs to be forgiven. It can also be used for interest on mortgages, the payment of rent, as well as utilities. But one thing that's really important, because it was initially designed to retain employees, at least 60% of the forgiven amount must be used for payroll costs for it to be considered forgivable. In the event that the funds are not forgiven, it would be termed out for a period up to 5 years, and the loan payments would be deferred for up to 6 months as well. One other thing that's really important to note, there's no collateral required for this loan. There is no personal guarantee required for this loan, and the personal credit score is not a consideration. So we don't look at either of those pieces that are normally considered with gaining access to capital for the Paycheck Protection Program. When you want to understand how to calculate the Paycheck Protection Program, you're eligible to borrow up to 2.5 times your average monthly payroll, and that's your average monthly payroll cost. So there are some items as you're thinking about what's included In the payroll cost, we have a list here, which is typically your salary and wages, payment of cash tips and equivalents, payment for vacation, parental, family, medical, and sick leave as well, allowances for dismissal and separation, payment required for provisions of group health care benefits, including your insurance premiums as well as your retirement benefits. Those costs are included, as well as your payments for state and local taxes assessed. So those would be your included payroll costs. A couple of things that's important to note that's excluded from the payroll cost would be compensation of any individual over $100,000. So it would be that portion above $100,000 will be deleted from the calculation, as well as payroll taxes, railroad and retirement taxes, and income taxes as well. And any compensation of employees whose principal place of residence is outside of the United States would also be excluded from the calculation, as well as qualified sick leave wages also. So it's important just to note that there are a couple of things that would be excluded as you're looking at your total payroll cost. But eligibility is based on your average monthly payroll cost times 2.5%. So let me explain how that would work also for a sole proprietor. For individuals that provide a quarterly 941 and 940s, those are a little bit easier to calculate, but some that are filing as sole proprietors, being your sole proprietors or even your single member LLCs that file as a sole proprietor, I do want to clarify how that calculation is done. So we would look at your net income and divide that net income for the year by 12 to come up with your average monthly payroll, and then you're eligible to borrow up to 2.5 times that amount. There's often questions around, will the loan be forgiven? And so it's really important to understand that, again, borrowers are eligible to have the loan forgiven. It was designed to be a forgivable loan. But a couple of things to consider is that, again, how the funds are spent during the 24-week allocation period. So we talked about the importance of the payroll cost, the interest on mortgage payments, as well as rent and leasing, and also payments for utilities. And again, can't highlight enough the importance of the 60% going towards the payroll cost. So that's really what would drive the forgiveness amount. The other piece is it's really important to note that the purpose of the Paycheck Protection Program is to retain employees or rehire them. So a reduction in workforce and wages or salaries paid or wages paid could also affect the eligibility for forgiveness. So just wanted to highlight a couple of key points. This document is located on our website at www.lendistry.com. It will also be provided after the presentation. Also important to note, again, that the Paycheck Protection Program this round expires on August 8th. And Lendistry, we will be accepting new applications up until the end of day 11:59 p.m. On August 6th. And this document also provides directions for how to apply, as well as going directly to our website to click on the link for applying. It's a very simple process, and can't stress enough to be sure to have your documentation prepared and ready when you apply. But again, me and my team, we are available to help, and our contact information will also be provided at the end of the presentation.
You are awesome. Thank you. Got a couple of questions, and Bill, also some of this might lead into you, with the Small Business Development Center and kind of some of the resources and things that you know about. But have a question about an LLC with 0 employees and a net loss. Would they qualify?
I'll let Clarence answer that one.
Bill will let me answer that one.
Yeah, I'll let Clarence answer that one.
Yeah. So, a couple of things. Single member LLCs with 0 employees are eligible to apply. And we would, single member LLCs with 0 employees would follow the sole proprietor rule typically, meaning that they would file a Schedule C, and that's how we would calculate their income. For an organization with a Schedule C that reported a loss for the year, would not be eligible to apply. And let me explain why. As I explained earlier, we use your net income and we average it out over a 12-month period to calculate your eligibility. If there is a loss for the year, there would not be any income for us to calculate. So with a loss reported on your Schedule C, you would not be able to apply. It is important to note, and I do want to make sure that I share this, is that organizations such as an LLC or even a sole proprietor that has employees and have reported a loss for the year could still be eligible to apply using the payroll that you've paid. So if you're a sole proprietor with employees and you can provide your 940 and 941s to show the wages that you've paid to your employees, in spite of having a loss on your Schedule C, you would not be penalized. We would still look at the 940 and 941 to calculate eligibility.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's see here. A nonprofit with no employees, but they have contractors.
Yes, Bill shaking his head.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you would not be able to apply again as a nonprofit. We look at your normal entity type, so the documents for your entity, but as a nonprofit, we would only be able to include wages that were paid to employees, not independent contractors or 1099 workers, because they're eligible to apply on their own. So we wouldn't be able to use that information.
Okay. Perfect. Let's see. They applied through PPP through Cabbage as a sole proprietor, but they wanted W-3, but they gave them Schedule C. Why was that important? And they came in late to the webinar, so I don't fully understand the question, but.
Yeah, I would be happy to review that with the individual. What I will say, I think it depends on the entity type. Again, if they provided a Schedule C, that would be for an individual that is a sole proprietor or a single member LLC. If they have employees, then we would be looking for documentation for those employees. So I'm not sure exactly what the specifics are, but want to provide that background as it relates to how we calculate. And let me go back to a question that you asked earlier, Sandy, around the number of times that you could apply for the Paycheck Protection Program. You can apply more than once, and you can apply to more than one organization. At this point, you can only be funded one time. So what we found is we have a number of folks that applied in the beginning of the Paycheck Protection Program back in April, may not have received funding during the first round and never moved to apply again. I would encourage you that if you have the documentation that is required, that you try to apply once again. In the first round, unfortunately, funds expired rather quickly, and so everyone was not considered. We have had success with helping individuals that were not considered in the first round of funding, but getting them funded in the second round and third round as well. So you can apply to another organization if you've already applied, as long as you have not been funded for the Paycheck Protection Program. You can only receive funding once at this point.
Okay, awesome. Bill, hold tight. I just have one question for Kwanzaa that I want to ask. Is there a limit to or does a nonprofit have to be in operation for a certain period of time in order to qualify for your program, for the nonprofit program that the health department is running?
February the 1st. They should have been in business since February the 1st of
Since February
2020.
Okay, February 1st, 2020. Perfect. Okay, great. Bill, are you going to bring us home with some of these clarified?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got the whole gamut here. So
Bill Hitty with the Small Business Development Center. Yeah, let's take it home for us, Bill.
yeah, I like to start off, and I'll tell you a minute about what we do for a living, but real quickly, just to follow up with Clarence, just to help the folks who may be in that category of self-employed with no employees. Line 31 on your Schedule C. That's all that counts. Nothing else on the form counts if you're applying for PPP except for line 31 on your Schedule C. So if that number's $1,200, you're dividing that by 12 and multiplying it times 2.5, so you're eligible for $250. So just understand that that's one. The other thing I like to educate folks about, again, before I get into presentation, avoid the term contractor employees. Okay, there is no such thing. Clarence just used contracted workers. Okay, so a lot of businesses and a lot of companies, they get confused when they start communicating and say, well, I have contract employees. Well, especially because of the PPP, that doesn't work. It just causes very much confusion for people that are trying to help you. So just wanted to clarify that. So I'm going to go over the SBDC program very quickly, and then I want to hit a bunch of stuff. I'm going to give you some highlights. What I'd like to do while I'm giving my 30-second overview about the SBDC, make sure that you have a pencil and paper in hand ready for things that may apply to you. I do not have a presentation. The reason I don't is quite simply because these things are changing by the minute, by the hour. So there's still a lot of other stuff, even regarding the PPP forgiveness things that are happening right now. So I'm basically going to go through and break them down. I'll try to start off by saying who's eligible for certain things. The SBDC is a national program. We're not the SBA. We are a resource partner of the SBA. We're partially funded by the SBA, but also part of our mandate is to get some local funding towards matching those funds. So here in Southern Maryland, I'm actually a College of Southern Maryland employee. We're hosted by CSM. We actually get money from all 3 county economic development agencies, as well as the state of Maryland. We work very closely with all 3 economic development groups. So, you know, we stay connected with a lot of different programs and a lot of different activities. So just so you know, all of our consulting is no cost and confidential. Our website's sbdchelp.com. That's our local website. So we're mandated to have all of our consulting no cost, okay, and confidential. We do offer training, that kind of good stuff, which you can find out about on SBDC Help. So what I really want to go through are a couple of things. We want to talk about some federal programs, state programs, local programs. I want to make sure that since we have a pretty good chunk of not-for-profits in here, I want to make sure that you guys are paying attention to a couple of things that I'm going to talk about. The Eidl loan is exactly what I want to start off with first. The Eidl loan under the CARES Act was modified a little bit. Everybody knows what happened along the East Coast yesterday. Those areas that were damaged are going to be under Eidl loans, but it's a different type of Eidl loan. The Eidl loan related to the COVID-19 was changed dramatically. It's a 1.5-page application. It's open to anybody. So therefore, if you have not applied, please make sure you go to sba.gov and apply. It's a 1.5-page. They're looking for what your revenues are, what your cost of goods sold were, profits, and number of people that you have working for you. That number of people is not necessarily for that specific application, is not the same number of people that the PPP application asks for. So you can include total number of people that you have as far as compensation that are on your payroll, and also that are being paid as contractors. Okay, so again, make sure you ask the questions, because a lot of us don't know what we don't know until we find out what we didn't know. So that's a real key important thing. For the not-for-profits in the audience, the College of Southern Maryland has the Nonprofit Institute. If you go into csmd.edu, which is the college's website, and the search, just type in nonprofits, Nonprofit Institute will come up. They have a whole plethora of resource information. Some of them I'm going to touch on here in just a minute, but also just wanted to make sure that they also, so you're aware, they also have a weekly phone call with nonprofits. So that's very helpful with a lot of other information that goes on with the programs. So we've got the Eidl Loan, which again, I would encourage everyone. I will assure you, they are turning them very quickly now. Things have slowed down, but I've had clients that have had responses within 3 business days from their applications within the last 2 weeks. So again, that's open. There is no closure date on that at this point in time. But again, I would strongly encourage you to go in, easy application, just have your financial information with you when you apply. The other thing are SBA guaranteed loans. The Eidl loan is actually money that comes directly from the SBA, from the federal government. The SBA guaranteed type loan programs, which include the PPP program, but it's also the regular loans, which come under the typical program for what's called 7A. Not going to get into all those details, but the important thing to know about that is right now on new 7A guaranteed loans, which are handled by banks, lenders, institutions like Industry, those kind of things, the SBA is making the first 6 payments on all loans that are settled, signed documents by September 27th. So that's a huge advantage for businesses. So if you're in the process or you're thinking about it, connect with your SBDC, connect with organizations like Industry, connect with your credit union, connect with whatever resource partner that you have to try to get that going as fast as you can. That is a really, really good incentive. For anybody who might be a little bit bigger, I want to throw this one out. The Federal Reserve and the U.S. Treasury have modified a program called the Main Street Loan Program. It's a really, really good loan program. The minimum loan amount's $250,000. People will go, oh, gee whiz, that's a lot of money. But in some cases, it really isn't. It just depends on the size of your company. And obviously, we couldn't tell by the questions that were done ahead of time. But just to give you an example, on the Main Street Loan Program, it's a 5-year payment, but the first 2 years are deferred payments. And then you only pay 15% of your amount in the 3rd year, 15% in the 4th year, and the 70% balance is due at the end of the 5th year. Very advantageous for structuring things that are happening related to COVID-19. It's a little bit of a cumbersome application process, quite simply because it has to go through a SBA approved lender, and most of them are pretty big. But from that vantage point, go to sbdchelp.com, look me up on there, or look at the end of today's presentation. You can send me if you have questions that might be something you might want to consider. Sorry. Okay, let's switch over to the state stuff. Maryland Relief Wizard. That's a really good website to go to. It gives you a lot of resources about information that's on there. What I do want to touch on are 2 particular programs. Maryland just came out with a COVID-19 pandemic, which is funded under the CARES Act. It's a loan program. It is structured as a loan. There's $5 million in there. It opened last week. The minimum amount is $25,000, max is $200,000. 0% interest and no payments in the first year. That it's a 2% interest rate over the remaining term with monthly payments. Very advantageous. Going back to a little bit follow-up to what we talked about with the PPP. Under this particular program, which is being handled by the Maryland Department of Commerce, so you can go into marylandcommerce.gov. For up to $50,000 loans, there are no personal guarantees and it's unsecured. All right. So that's a really, really flexible program. I really strong any business to be able to look at that. I think it's a really excellent program. For my not-for-profits, 501c6s, okay, there is a grant program up to $10,000 that's going to start accepting applications on August 17th. Hopefully you're already in the loop and you know about that. But I know a lot of our chambers and business associations have been clamoring for some relief. So just wanted to make sure that you're aware of that. Let's talk real quickly about local grants. Lucretia talked about the grants that are available through Charles County. If you are not in Charles County, pretty much all the counties in Maryland are offering grants. It just depends on how they're structured. Some of them are dedicated to PPP only, not PPP, PPE. There, Sandy, I just did it. Some protective equipment. Some of them are just geared towards that. Other are geared towards similar stuff that Lucretia talked about. They also have loan programs, pretty much all the counties do. Let's get a couple specifics. Agriculture, if you're in agriculture or if you are ag tourism related, there's an organization here in Southern Maryland that handles the 5 Southern Maryland counties, Charles, Calvert, St. Mary's, Anne Arundel, and Prince George's, called the Southern Maryland Agricultural Development Commission. That program offers matching grants, some mini grant programs, and also funds some programs that are geared towards ag businesses through Maryland's MARBIDCO program. That's MARBIDCO. They have a whole bunch of different lending programs. SMADAC has resources that they provide to that program. Just the other thing that I wanted to make sure under that Maryland, under the CARES Act program, again, the Maryland Nonprofit Recovery Initiative, that program still has applications open for grants. And those of you in this parameter are going to know what these initials are, so I'm not going to read them. BHA and DDA. So if you're BHA and DDA accredited license with the state of Maryland, you are still eligible for one of those grant programs. So that's being handled by DHCD. All right. So if you go into dhcd.maryland.gov, that'll be a helpful opportunity for you to be able to look at that. The last one that I want to explain is a really interesting one that I came across. It's called the Red Backpack Fund. This is for women-owned businesses only, women-owned and controlled not-for-profits. They're offering $1,000, $5,000 grants. If you go in and just do a search, just go in and type in Red Backpack. Backpack's all one word, fund. So Red Backpack Fund. Pretty interesting. If you are a sole proprietor with no employees, you're not eligible. It's only for organizations that have employees on payroll. Okay. So, but it is pretty cool to be able to go back in. So that's it for me. You get my contact information, short, sweet. Hopefully we left enough time to answer a few questions.
Oh my God, is anybody else's head spinning right now? I can't Google that fast.
There's a lot of stuff.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, so I was trying to get things into the chat box and Google. And so if you're following along and you were mesmerized by Bill and all of that, take a look. I got like 50% of his stuff in the chat box. The rest of it will appear in the replay on the website. Yeah. So thank you, Bill. That was awesome. Oh my gosh. And it got I've got a few more questions here. And I'm going to say right now, we're going to go over. Are my speakers okay if we go over by a few minutes and answer these questions?
Fine.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And then, but if our attendees have to, bug off, then you can just, fast forward to the end of, whenever you had to leave. Let's see. Do you need a business checking account? I think this was for PPP to qualify for the program if they're a sole proprietor. So
yeah,
you do.
That's a really good question. So, and thank you for that question. Yes, you would need a business account that matches your business registration.
Yeah.
So if you are a sole proprietor doing business in your name, then you could have a bank account that's registered in your name. But if you're a business doing the business operating under a business name, you would need an account registered in that name. And it's really important because funds are directed are sent directly to that account once you are approved.
Awesome, thank you. Is there a certain income that you need to be able to qualify for the Paycheck Protection Program? Bill, you used your $250 example. So no minimum, is there a minimum?
So there's not a minimum income amount. We actually here at Lendistry provide loans from $10,000 to $2 million in the Paycheck Protection Program, but there is not a minimum amount that's required. We in terms of income to apply for the Paycheck Protection Program, we look at a minimum loan size of $10,000.
Cool. Do
Yeah,
you
just if I can interject real quick, there are some lenders, I've had some clients that have gotten $1,000 in the PPP program. Again, it all depends on what the lender's looking for. The paperwork is basically the same. So there's a cost benefit thing that the lenders will have to take into consideration. But yeah, there are some out there. Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and what I would add for this group, Sandy, is for anyone that is concerned about the amount, I would encourage them to reach out to us. Let's talk about it. Let's review where you are. At the end of the day, we are looking to help as many business owners as we can. So there could be some flexibility, particularly for your group here. So if I wouldn't let the amount that you think you would qualify for stop you, I would encourage you to reach out to us. And Sandy, if I could, one thing I just neglected to share, just to make everyone aware, we are, as an SBA lender, we are hugely focused on the Paycheck Protection Program at this time. However, here at Lendistry, we offer a full suite of business lending solutions, be it term loans, lines of credit, as well as commercial real estate. So just know that we can help as well beyond the Paycheck Protection Program.
And that's for small businesses and nonprofits, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
So I think I know the answer, but is it required to go through an institution for the Paycheck Protection Program? Are they to service the loan, or can you go to the government directly?
Yeah, so for the Paycheck Protection Program, it would be provided through a participating organization on behalf of the SBA.
Somebody asked if unpaid volunteer staff count, and I don't know exactly what that was related to. The context.
I think the thing to keep in mind is if there's no wages that have been paid, then there would be nothing to calculate for eligibility.
Okay.
W-2 wages.
Cool.
That's what it's looking for.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. Thank you, Lucretia.
Let's see, what if we did apply for the economic injury disaster loan, but didn't include contract employees? Can we go back and do it, or contractors? Can we go back and do it?
The answer to that, short answer is no.
Okay.
The only thing that was really related to was to what was originally done, what was called an advance. It was a grant that some folks got, sorry. That program is no longer available for the grants. All they're looking at now are the loans. So if you did not get an advance by now, you probably won't get one, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you will not. They just allocated a certain budget, which they never told us about until after they stopped offering the grants. The short answer is no, you can't go in and modify it, and it wouldn't really help you at this point anyway.
So also, and we've got a couple in this EIDL category, does the paid executive, let's say of that, organization, accept personal responsibility for the loan?
Yes. Well, I shouldn't, let me clarify that. Whoever actually enters the information into the system and is listed as the person who will be signing loan documents,
okay,
that person is individually technically responsible on the EIDL loan. It's very different than the PPP, okay? So the EIDL loan, yes, there is individual responsibility.
And Bill, you want to also talk about the limit. I think it's 25,000 and under. There's no guarantee on the EIDL, and then above
there's no collateral required if it's
collateral. Okay.
Right. If it's an unsecured loan, EIDL is unsecured up to 25,000, but
okay,
you still have the personal guarantee. Again, that's very different than the PPP program.
Is EIDL a forgivable loan?
No.
Okay.
Not at this point in time, and I doubt if it will be. It seems like most of the legislation is going to, the interest rate's 3.75, and it's spread, almost everybody's getting a 30-year repayment term. So I have some clients that are $75 a month. So it's like, that's probably not going to happen to make those forgivable.
Okay. Is the EIDL a one-time use?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you'll get the full amount funded, and it gets put into your business bank account. Business bank account. Yeah, and if it's over $25,000, they'll take a $100 fee out of your funding that covers the filing fee that the SBA puts on a blanket lien on business assets.
Okay, I think this is my favorite question so far, this is the crystal ball. Are there any grant programs available for new businesses that are planned to open later this year? Does anybody have a crystal ball that they can tell us what's going to happen later this year? No. Okay.
I mean, I'll interject. I'm going to say no. I mean, we get calls about grants all the time. Yeah. Anything COVID related is all based on history, performance. You go back certain dates. But yeah, there's really no free money for people that are trying to start something and got interrupted by COVID.
I just like the crystal ball, like what's going to happen in a few months. My God, like, oy, oy, oy. Okay, let's see. Oh, the Nonprofit Institute website, I shared that. Cool. Okay. On the Charles County Small Business Relief Grant, can you apply if your business received an SBA Small Business Relief Grant? They didn't apply originally because the instructions stated that you could not have received any other grant relief monies. So
no, you can still apply for the grant.
Okay.
You can still apply, and I think what the confusion is they gave an example. Business may have operated in different areas. I mean, within the same county, in the same jurisdiction. If you got CARES Act, let's say, for example, you have the Indian Head or municipality in the same county administering the CARES Act grant, and you got funding from that, and then wanting to get funding. Bill, correct me if I'm right. You can't get that same funding, right, from the same. In the same state or county, different municipalities.
Yeah, there's some parameters within the CARES Act funding, and some of them are vary a little bit. I can't say positively that that's the case. I know with the Charles County program, there's no prohibition to applying just because you received any other federal or state money.
Yeah, you can apply for that. Yeah,
awesome.
You can still apply as long as you've been in business for a year.
Cool. And Lucretia, another one for you. How long does it take to receive funds after the approval from the Charles County grant after the return of the required notarized documents?
I don't want to give a specific deadline, but we're doing all our possible best to get funding out as quickly as possible. I know I've gotten a lot of calls from applicant. But we trying to get it out within that 2 weeks period after we get the signed grant agreement in. But we're doing all we can to get the funding out.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, if you've already received funding from the Paycheck Protection Loan and EIDL, will there be another round of funding available that they can apply for?
So there is discussion now. Nothing has been approved at this point, but I would say stay tuned. There is constant discussion around that.
Okay, awesome. And then the next thing was I got a link. I shared a link that it says is no longer valid. I don't know which link that is. Oh, somebody had shared with me the Department of Commerce link of resources, and that one is no longer. I just copied and pasted. Well, I apologize. I will put up another one here in a minute.
Yeah, it should be maryland.commerce.gov. Yeah, to follow up on the other question as far as what Clarence said, there's a lot of stuff in the legislation that the Senate and the House are negotiating as we speak. There may be eligibility for a second round of PPP from what I'm hearing from folks that seem to be familiar with what the legislation. It's quite possible that it may be targeted to either selected industries or selected impacts instead of the PPP program right now is very general. So again, there's still a lot of money left in that program. So that'll be interesting to sort of see what comes out, and hopefully we'll have some answer on that. Hopefully, since today's Wednesday, maybe by Friday. But we'll see. Clarence is smiling too, because the forgiveness supposedly portal was supposed to open on the 10th, and we'll see how that's going to happen.
That's right.
That's another question. We can talk an hour about
Um, okay. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I just shared the general Maryland Department of Commerce site. It's not exactly, you will need to drill down within that site for some resources, and then also shared the meetcharlescounty.com site, and that's where this replay will live. So, oh my gosh, so much information. Truly, as a small business owner, my head is spinning. And yes, there is so much information out there, but I think the big takeaway for me is not to do this yourself. You know, we've got some great resources. We've got 5 amazing subject matter experts that are here and able to help. I did put your email addresses in the chat box, and those will be on the replay page as well. I truly cannot thank you guys enough. I don't think we have any more formal questions at this time. I think we got through them in record time, and I thank you.
Sandy, can I interject just real quick,
Yeah.
just for me? I'm getting a ton of communications, and obviously, like, for anybody who is going to send me anything that was heard on this webinar, because we went through so much stuff, just reference August 5th webinar in your subject line, because that's going to help me when I go through. I'm getting 85, 100 emails a day. So, you know, if somebody can go in and just put August 5th webinar in the subject line, then I'll know to filter that one a little quicker and be able to get back to you, okay? That's just me. It just helps because of the volume we're getting right now.
No, I appreciate it. You know,
I agree. Yeah.
so the takeaway, if you're going to reach out to any of the panelists, we'll make it available for all. Just reference this specific webinar here on August 5th in Charles County. Another quick question for clarification: the mainstream loan program is only available for businesses who have been established for at least a year. Also,
the Main Street Loan Program, for that amount, you're probably going to have to be around for a little while longer than that. That's a direct question that'd probably be easier for somebody just to email me and say they wanted to talk about it, and I can give more insight.
Okay, that sounds perfect. Awesome, thank you. Anybody have any closing comments? Anything for the good of the cause here today before we thank you for your time? No?
Use resources, folks. Use resources. Ask questions before you do stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. Kwanzaa, Clarence, Lucretia, Bill, thank you. Thank you all so much for what you are doing every single day to, help all of us. Really, really appreciate it. So,
thanks to everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take care. Thanks.